Hello and welcome to the new episode of Entrepreneurs and Leadership live podcast. And today I'm so happy to welcome Savitha Nanjappa from India. And she runs a global coaching business with clients across 13 countries. And she's a host of a growing large podcast, and she coached and mentored over 150 businesses worldwide and trained over 3,000 men and women equally. She speaks on stage and has been featured in Fox, ABC, and CBS in the States. Last but not least, she won multiple awards. And I am so happy and to have her on here. And I love especially her quote, which is saying, "If I can do it, anyone can." She loves to show people how to build a successful business or a side hustle. Let me welcome Savitha Nanjappa. Hello.
Hi, and thank you so much for having me this evening, this afternoon, and to everybody who's watching. Have happy Tuesday. I hope you're having a great start to your day, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. So thank you for having me today.
Yeah, thank you. Was quite excited the whole day about this talk, because you have a big fellowship on LinkedIn. You have a big fellowship on Instagram. Even if you like, I can show you that later. What would you add? Because today's topic is visibility and networking. And why do you think is that so important? How do you come up with this idea? What is your story? Why do you go this way, or from where you are coming?
So I'm going to start right when before I started my business, before I became a coach. I spent 17 years in the corporate world. And during that time, I worked in marketing, sales, customer experience. But I had a lot of experience working direct to customer, face to face, because, I was in the call center, I was at the retail stores. One thing that I observed was it wasn't necessarily the hardest worker who did well, but it was someone who could communicate well and someone who could really be responsive to customers. And customers needed to know where to go. So you needed to be visible. You needed to put yourself out there and say, if you need help, if you need anything, I'm the person for you. So my journey started in the corporate world. And when I decided to start my own business, which was never my dream, I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. If I had known how challenging it was going to be, I would never have probably ventured. But when I started, I found that, you can create a great product. You can have the best services out there, but if people didn't know that you existed, they couldn't use your service. You couldn't be of any use to them. And I felt like the first rule in marketing is you can have all these fantastic things, but you don't have a client in front of you, you're not in business. That's the first thing about business I realized. But then how do you get the word out there? That means you have to communicate to your audience, your clients, that you exist, number one, because only when you have awareness can you have consideration. And it is true whether you're a business owner, you're a corporate, you're an employee, you're a professional. First, people have to know your audience, your ecosystem has to know that you exist, you're aware, and then they will consider what you have to offer to work with you. And so what I realized was there could be many coaches, there could be many people doing the work that I did, and I started out in personal branding, which is where I felt like the gap between people going from middle management to CXO roles, the gap was communication, the gap was showing up and being visible. Because what that means is you're communicating that you are the right person for the job. You're letting people know what are the skill sets you have, what you bring to the table, and why you are the right person to the job. And how do you do that? Because hard work will get you most of the way. It's a given. You have to have hard work, you have to have consistency, you have to have the will to do better. But the icing on the cake is when you can bring all of that and tell people, this is what I can bring to the table, and this is why you should work with me, this is why you should hire me. It doesn't matter wherever you are. That's when people start to consider. So going back to your question, long answer is only when people, why I choose visibility, why I choose networking is, today everyone can work hard, everyone can build a great offering, everyone can give you a great service, which is as good as the next person. If you do it, your competition can do it better. But the differentiator is if you are able to communicate to your audience why you are the right person, why you're the best person to serve them, then you will have that conversion, then you're going to have purchase. So I chose to focus, I focus on all the other areas, but I focus a lot on also making sure that when I work with businesses, they are being visible, because you have to let your customer know that I'm now here and I exist and you should buy from me, and this is how you buy from me. So that's my reason for choosing this area.
No, I think I agree there completely, because you have to be visible to be recognized. Means look at McDonald's; they don't do the best hamburger, but they are visible, and
Yes.
you can even sell not even the perfect food if you're visible. But if you never try and going out there and being visible, nobody knows that you exist, and you can't tell your story, and you can't build up the trust and the authority needed to help people and to do valuable services for them, which they are then happy to pay for as well. I agree there completely. Yeah. And therefore, everything is relies on trust, authority, and visibility. It's like the three big R's of marketing. You have to the reach, yeah. And it has to resonate with the people. I mean, and as well, it has to really write in the right good offer to them. Otherwise, you'd never attract them.
Yes, absolutely.
And what do you think? What is holding people back from being visible? And what's the reason? What is the experience? Yeah.
I think men or women, the same things hold people back, but there are so many reasons, and I can share. Number one is, of course, the imposter syndrome. Am I the right person for the job? Being judged, which is it's a real and really big fear for people. Nobody wants to be judged. Nobody wants to be criticized. Nobody wants to be pulled up. And people think, often people feel being visible or speaking about your accomplishments, speaking about what you are capable of doing. Sometimes it's you, but sometimes it is about your product and your service. What is harder is when they have to showcase themselves. When it's about the service or when it's about the offering, people find that's easier to do. But when it's themselves, it's harder. So people feel it's not authentic. They feel like it's silly. I don't want the spotlight on me. What will people say? What will people think? I'm just a hard worker. I should be noticed naturally. So people have all of these reasons. And I think the fear, if I have to put one word to it, the word is fear. Fear is the reason that a lot of people hold back from showcasing themselves. And even fear of selling, right? Sometimes people don't speak if it's not you. We don't speak about what our business is, what our services and offerings are, because it feels icky to sell, because it feels salesy, and I don't want to do that. So these are the things that hold people back, but mostly it's fear. And a lot of it is the fear of being judged, which is very high in the mindset hats that people wear, which is what holds them back from showing up and playing out loud.
Yeah, I agree. Means it's a question of your mindset. Means going out on the stage, and you're doing that as well frequently. You have to put yourself out there, and you will get critics, but as well applause. And you have to think more of telling a story and what you want to offer. Don't tell products about, it's not about you all the time. It's if you're going out on the stage, people are listening to you, or if you're visible, people are watching you, and they want to really to see how you can help them. What is the bridge and what is your offer? And therefore you have to think more about them instead less of you. And that is this mindset I experience is this important thing. And then you probably don't come over as a pushy sales person who wants to push his products. You offer help, then can take it or leave it. And this mindset is probably much better to get out there and doing that.
True, absolutely. And I think fear, in fact, when we build visibility strategy for you to be visible, I always emphasize more on the mindset, because if you have the mindset taken care of, the strategy follows. Yeah. And the mindset gets taken care of, like you said, share stories, share why, like how can you help people, what's in it for the other person. That won't be so hard. If you can get away from your own fears and say, when I do this, I'm being in service to other people, then you're able to get past that mindset.
Exactly. As well, if you tell the story, how you came up with this idea to help people, what challenges you solved, how you solved these problems, and how you now are capable of helping them really to tackle those challenges much quicker than you did in the past, where you learned everything about how to. You tried so many things out to solve it. Then you can offer valuable help. And if you really think in results for people listening to you, or results in people where you're offering service, that helps. If you're just wanting to sell a product, then you're anyway in a losing game. Yes. I think so. And what would be your tips for people how to overcome their fear? To overcome the fear, because it's natural. Because even now, if I'm doing this podcast, I'm excited, I'm a little bit nervous. Like today, just to give the audience an idea, I wrote all the questions down beforehand on those little cards here. You can see that, but I took the wrong staple. Now I have the question in my mind. But you see, things are going wrong, and I can learn of it to prepare it better. What are your tips, advices, how people can prepare, being more visible to get to get out of the way the fear? Yeah.
The first thing is to acknowledge that fear is going to be there. It's always going to be there. But I can tell you this: it gets better. Just like how you and me are doing this live stream. I mean, before we started, there is a little bit of preparation that goes in. Over a period of time, let's say by the time you're on your 50th show, 50th episode, you have improved. So the first thing to acknowledge is fear is there, but how can I still move forward, and how can I take just one step? So that's my next thing. What's just one step that you can take today towards that goal? And before you even start to work on your mindset fears, I want everybody who's watching this is to identify what is the thing that you fear. Are you afraid of being judged? Are you afraid that you've never done this before, so I don't know how? Are you afraid that you won't be perfect? Are you afraid that, I don't have enough knowledge? So the first step is identify what is it that you're really afraid of. Now, for me, it could be that I'm probably just afraid of how I look on camera. Maybe everything else I'm okay with, but I just feel like, oh, okay, I'm not sure how I'm going to look on camera. Then the fix would be easier, because then I know that I show up looking my best, if that's my worry, right? But if I'm afraid that as a podcaster, let's say, I'm not asking the right questions, I can then prepare better questions. So number one is to identify what is it that you fear. The next step, I mean, before that, of course, like I said, fear is going to be there. Don't worry about getting rid of it fully. You have to work with it, acknowledge that you're afraid, and then identify what you're afraid of. This next step is to be able to take action. And I think the best thing to do is the difference to know whether you have a fixed mindset or do you have a growth mindset. Now, fixed mindset is, I can't do this, right? I can't do this and I don't want to do this. The growth mindset is, I can't do it yet, but how can I start doing it? What is that one step that I can take? So there are two types of thinking. And thinking one can be, I work really hard and my senior management knows that I do a good job. So I don't need to, showcase my accomplishments. I don't need to be visible. Thinking two, which is the growth mindset thinking, is I work hard and do a good job, but I also recognize that getting in front of senior management is important to my success. You're not discounting all of the other things that is important. You're saying that this is also important. So, move away from, I can't do this, I don't want to do this, it's too hard, it's too late, it's not good enough, to I can't do it yet, but I'm going to get ready. So you've really got to put some thought into finding out what is it that you're afraid of and how can you prepare. And I think the greatest way is to ask better questions. Sometimes maybe we do this podcast, right, Michael, and we find that something went wrong or I could have probably answered better. I can go back and say to that question, maybe this would have been a better answer. So ask better questions. Instead of saying, I can't do this, ask yourself, how can I do this? How can I get myself prepared to do this? So ask better questions. If you fail at something, don't say, oh my God, I failed. This is something which is very common especially when we are preparing people to speak in public. They're like, I can't, I freeze. I just can't. I always forget my lines. The better question is to say, I forget my lines. So what are some of the things that I can do? And finally, my fourth tip is to visualize your confident self. Today, you may not be able to show up like that confident self, but I think the biggest thing that you can do is to take a moment and visualize who you are when you're showing up at your best. How do you want to show up? How does this person who's very confident, who does not have all these worries, show up? And just keep visualizing it. There is a thing that you do, fake it till you make it. So you kind of use your confidence, use what you've got, go for it. And then I love this great saying, I'm sure you've heard it a lot, progress over perfection. You won't be perfect in your first video, but you will get better by your seventh video. So those are my tips to, work through the mindset fears. I know it's going to be there, but it isn't like you're going to stop feeling fear and then you will get started. You get started and then the fear starts to come down a bit.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. I love this. I love as well the work of Carol Dweck, when she's coming up with this growth mindset. And really, everybody has to get out of his fear zone, of his comfort zone. It's nice because everything is so nice to stay there, but you don't grow. If your brain needs input, and you have to stretch and flex the brain, and you need other input. You have to get out to do something new, and to have this fear all the times or frequently means you want to make a perfect show. But to be honest, the perfect show is in the eye of the visitor, of the viewer, and you don't know if it's perfect. But what you said, you can do the best, give the best perfect of you to do that, and tell a story. Tell a story which is authentic you. Then you don't even lose your lines during on stage. And because I know it myself, I did it as well. I did speeches, especially when I was in an enterprise level still. Then you prepare how do you want to phrase it, how you want to put it, and then you, at some point at the beginning you start even to memorize everything, but that's not authentic because you have an audience in front of you. They have reactions, and if they are bored and then you should change. You should change the approach. I mean, what you said there as well. If something is not working, change it. You learn from what is not working and change it. Make it happen. That's next time better. I love this word of Carol Dweck in this growth mindset. And I think it's a good tips you gave here to help people to get out of their how to get visible. And I have another question. On which platforms, not only social media, where can people get visible? Means, do they need first like objective, a vision for themselves? How would you do the whole strategy behind that?
So when I work with anyone or even for myself, it is, why do I want to be visible? You have to know your why. Otherwise, you're going to go and you're going to do everything and hope that something sticks. You don't want to do that. So begin with, why do you need to build visibility? And it could be as simple as, because I want to get that next promotion, or it could be that I want to sell my product. So figure out why. Also, it's always good if your why is bigger than just money, okay? It should be, if it is something which is bigger than money, you can keep going. Even when you don't do as well, even when you have doubts, you feel like, no, I need to put my word out there. So if your why is, by me showing up, I can change someone's life, or someone needs to hear this message that I have, then you will keep going. Even if today you may have an audience of 1, tomorrow you may have an audience of 5, you will keep going. You're not going to give up. But let's say your reason for being visible is just tied simply only to money. Once the money comes, then you're going to stop. Is that it? So what's going to be there? So have a more long-term vision, and always know that your why, if it's helping somebody, if it's helping impact someone's life, it means there's value in it. And you may think, oh, but I just do this job, how am I impacting somebody's life? You know what? You doing your job and letting people know that you're doing this job and showing people how they can do it, or what you did to do it better, is actually helping someone. So never think that your job is so small that you're not really helping anyone. So do I really need to be visible? No. So start with why. Once you know why, that will tell you where should you be visible. If you know your why, then you get what you focus on. So you know where. So that answers your second question on platforms. You will go where your audience is. So if you just say, I'm going to be visible, you could go on Facebook and just be visible to your family and friends if it's only open to family and friends. But if you know that I want to be visible and I want to share my message, my story, my challenges, you will go and share it with the audience that needs to hear it the most. Sometimes that may be family and friends, but most often it's absolute strangers out there who need to hear it. So then you choose where your audience is, who's the message for, and who is it going to help. Now, let's say you're a business owner. You are going to go where your target audience is. You're going to go and showcase and show up only where your target audience is. You don't need to be everywhere. If your audience is on, let's say, if we are talking online, if your audience is on LinkedIn, you will only show up on LinkedIn. You don't need to be on Snapchat, Twitter, WhatsApp, maybe not so many, or TikTok. You don't need to be on so many platforms. If you go where your audience is. So you choose your platform by first understanding who your message is for, who you're being visible for, and why are you being visible. And I always say, I have a 3 different approach. So go where your audience is and map out your online platform and your offline platform. Most people think I should only be visible online, but that's not true, because you will decide that based on who you are. You have to be authentic. Maybe you actually hate being on, maybe audiences on TikTok and you don't like it, you don't want to be there. Then find your audience in the offline mode. Find what works for you. Maybe your message need not be social media, it could be a blog on Medium. Okay, so understand who you are, while your why is important and your audience is important and who your message is for is important. It's also important that you do what is authentic to you. And I'll tell you, there are some clients who I work with who tell me, but I can't show up online. Their audience is there, they have a very strong clear message to impact the world, but they feel like I can't show up. And that's okay, because your why will lead you through the tough times.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful phrase. Means your audience means you're helping people. Means and you can't help people if you're not taking the platform or the channel. You have to choose the channel where the people are you want to help, and that's your why. Your why should be much more about helping others than just making money. What you just said, and therefore that's answering quite easily which platform to use. Yeah. But I think lots of as well companies they are misusing social media just as an they should just put ads out there. And if I get bored and tired if I'm opening LinkedIn, I'm quite active on LinkedIn. You're getting more and more ads on LinkedIn, just buy me, buy me, buy me. And in the end, it's not LinkedIn, it's not about that. It's as well, it's the age of creators. It means you have to create content, valuable content, which is helping people. Because if you're not recognized, if you are unknown and you need visibility, the one thing is probably, and you probably agree, is just to put out content which is valuable and which is giving from heart to help people. It's not just giving little slices and then buy me straight away.
Yeah. You share that so beautifully, and that's absolutely right. That's what you've got to do. You've got to show how you can help people, and then you will get the conversion. But just show up and want to help first, and then you will see that your community comes together, your audience comes together.
Yeah. And and you're active, quite active. I can hold on. I'm switching over to where is my presentation. Yeah, I'm the correct one. You're quite active on Forbes as well. And can you see something there? Oh, hold on. Okay, sorry. I have to. I'm just going back to the Zoom. Sorry, that's live. Yeah, what's happening live. And I'm preparing that. And you're quite active on LinkedIn. That's one side, and one other side as well. You're quite active on Instagram. And what are the beauties of both, of LinkedIn and of Instagram? What would you say is working for you and what could work for others as well to be more visible? And in the meantime, I'm trying to get your LinkedIn profile live.
That's okay. So, I didn't pay a lot of attention to LinkedIn earlier because I felt like, oh, it's just for if you're in corporate and if you want to connect and you want to find a job. I did not understand the power of LinkedIn earlier. And I can see your screen right now.
Yeah, I just changed it. And then I'm going to, here you go. That's the correct one.
Yes. Thank you. So I think I started to focus on LinkedIn, in fact, earlier this year. Only this year I've become really active and I've started to focus. Can I do more? Yes. My mantra has been do one platform really well. Once you have a handle on that, then move on to the next platform. Don't try to do everything at the same time and spread yourself thin, because then you struggle with, okay, what do I post on Facebook? What do I post on LinkedIn? What shall I post on Twitter? It's a lot to handle. So I started out, when I started my business, I started out focusing a lot on Instagram in 2018. Could I have done more over there? Of course, but I have consciously tried to keep it organic, not but focus on my audience. Why I chose Instagram first was because I was focusing on millennials, women, and focusing primarily with people under the age of 50 when I started my business, because I wanted to help female entrepreneurs, millennial female entrepreneurs. And I knew that they were on Instagram. So that's why I started to focus on Instagram first. Now I realize that I also do executive coaching today, and therefore, my audience is also not just women. I work with men as well, because since 2019 we are gender neutral as a company. So then I started to focus on LinkedIn as well, because I do business coaching. I do have my group program, and I said, okay, my audience is here as well. And so today I do both. Because I've always focused on Instagram from day one, it is my main converting platform. That's where I've got most of my clients from in the beginning. I have got my executive coaching because I also do workshops. And because I do workshops, because I do a lot of speaking engagements and podcast interviews, I have also got clients into my executive coaching program. So I am very clear that I will not waste my time on different platforms. I know what works for me, and I've spent time identifying my audiences. So I'm clearly catering to these platforms because my audience is over here.
No, I think that's brilliantly phrased. I'm doing the same. I'm quite active on LinkedIn, and I'm just starting to using Instagram, and as well, I hate Facebook, because I just created as well a Facebook group, because I think just to place there some videos and content can be very valuable because there are lots of people using Facebook. Me not, because I don't like so much the Facebook products. Except Instagram, I like, because you can tell a more personalized story. I mean, you have to distinguish on Instagram, on LinkedIn. It's not my friends; it's followers. Means I just want to have people there who are interested in my content, and I want to help them. And that's therefore I don't use it for friends and family, if you like. Yes. And you as well, and this is where we met first time, was in Forbes. You're quite actively as well writing articles in Forbes. I can show that as well if you like. It's here. I think the last article you wrote there was in October with a brilliant headline. How to use customer reviews to solidify your brand's messaging. And what is that about, if you just want to give a quick shot on this article?
Sure. The reason I wrote this article is because it's a great question that you asked me. Why these two platforms? It's because I spend a lot of my time looking at analytics, insights on social media, and also making sure to identify where my customers are, who they are, and what are they doing? Who else is marketing to them? What are they liking? What are they doing? So one of the things that I did not spend a lot of time on, which I could have in 2019, 2020, was not collecting enough customer reviews. It is really important because social proof is a thing. And I realized that that's one of the things you do with product market fit. You're constantly listening to your customer, and then you can improve your product. So my article was how to, get your brand messaging right, because when you talk to a customer, when they leave a review, good, bad, or ugly, you can use that same messaging to create an offer, or to improve your offer, to improve your service, improve your messaging, your communication. So you're communicating in the language of your customers. Sometimes your customers speaking a very different language. What they're looking for is very different from what you are saying and what you're speaking and what you think about your product. And I feel like with reviews, if you read it carefully, you can actually pick up the tonality, the voice of the customer, the problems that they are sharing. And that's what my article was primarily about, how to use it to solidify your messaging.
Wonderful! It's a great article. I can only recommend to read that. I read it really quite excited about the insights and the tips and hacks you're giving away there for free. And it's wonderful. And if you could help people as well, you have lots of clients in corporates, and they as well need their personal brand, but as well need more visibility, especially if you're living as a C-suite executive in your ivory tower and nobody knows you, they only know your decisions. What you would do, what you would recommend them to do, how to get more visible and to be more, to get a higher buy-in in what they're doing, and what is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, great question. When I'm working with corporates, my approach is a little different. C-suite executives, my approach is a little different. When I'm working with a business, it's a little different. When it comes to C-suite, like you rightly said, some of them are in their ivory tower, and only the people in their own organization know them. Unless your organization does a PR push and you're frequently putting yourself out there in terms of written pieces or being on stage, speaking, panels, that kind of stuff. A lot of organizations may not invest in this on a regular basis unless they have something coming out. Usually, you see most C-suite executives, most leaders come up when there's a product launch. And after that, you don't hear from them. Now, what I recommend for C-suite executives is to build thought leadership. And you want to build thought leadership because you are right now known by your title. Who are you besides your title? And I think that lesson was something that I learned myself because, you know, you always introduce yourself as, hi, I'm Savitha. I work with so-and-so company as, you know, whatever, manager, VP, anything. And when you leave that job, like I did, and I was trying to figure out what my next move was, I didn't know who I was because our identity is linked to that role. And so for people in Ivory Towers, first step is to know that you've got to constantly put yourself out there and you want to build thought leadership because what you have a lot of experience. You've not come to the top without having seen highs and lows, and you want to share that because you want to lead not just by example, but you also want to lead by inspiring people who come after you. And the way to do that is to be able to be visible and share your story, share your challenges, share what you're learning, which will not just benefit your own company and your own people inside your organization, but can also add value to people outside your organization. That's one. When a leader show up and they are not just sharing their story, they can inspire other people who say, I want to work with this person. I want this person to guide me in my own career. I want to learn from this person. And you're not just speaking for yourself. You actually put the spotlight not just on you as a leader, but on your business, on your brand, on your company, and on your team members, right? So that's one. So start by focusing on building thought leadership. Now, how can you do that? You already have a certain level of credibility, but when you show up consistently, it builds trust. So maintain that. And you want to do this by you can do it by being visible online. Find a way to be visible offline as well, because there are events, the world is slowly opening up. There are events where you can speak on stage. There are events that you can be on a panel. You can write. And I think most C-suite people do tend to do some form of writing. And you can write articles, you can write blog posts, you can start your own blog posts if it allows. You could start your own podcast as well. And all of this is ways of sharing your story and sharing your learning so other people can take away from you. So number one is identify online platform and identify your offline platform. Do you need to show up and start posting 30 days in a month? Maybe not, but find a way that you can keep it consistent. Maybe 3 times a week, maybe 2 times a week, but 2 times a week, every Monday, Thursday, if you choose every Monday, Thursday, show up and start posting. There will be people who will read it. And then finally, I recommend that, you know, a lot of people may be C-suite already or want to go to C-suite, but they don't network enough. And I find that entrepreneurs do this quite naturally. Michael, you and me have done it. We connect virtually, but I find that people in organizations, corporate professionals don't do this enough. They just know people within their own company, maybe just within their own department, but they don't you naturally put themselves out there to go network, build those connections. And I really feel that that's like the missing piece. Because people can still be, you can show up and be active on LinkedIn. You can be, maybe do some, go to conferences, go to events, but they don't network enough. And that's why you should go to events and conferences so you can network. But in the long run, after a certain level in your career, you're going to get headhunted. You're going to get offered jobs, and that will come from your network, within your network. Okay. And if you want to find your next job, start networking. That's really important. So those are my tips for people who are wanting to go to C-suite, and people who are in C-suite to start establishing their thought leadership, their credibility, their expertise.
No, I think it's I love your advice there, and as well this visibility and networking. If you're C-suite and you lead your company and you're a servant leader, you're a servant coach of your team, you need to be visible to your team, and you have to network with them constantly, and therefore you have to come up with ideas how you are reachable. Especially in COVID times when people are sitting at home or somewhere and working from somewhere, how can you be reachable to them, and how can you network with them? Because your team knows much more better what is on the client side than you as a C-suite. And you should delegate as well, probably power and decision power to your team. And they have to trust you, have to trust them, and you have to build a trustworthy relationship with them. Therefore, as well, you need to tell stories. Tell them the stories how you got C-suite. Tell them the story what went wrong in your career. Tell them, make you a trustworthy person. And it's not only for looking for a new job as a C-suite, as well to do the job you're hired for, lead the company. I think their visibility and networking is so important to the stakeholders.
Yeah, I think what you touched upon is great, because I feel like a lot of people don't share their failures. We talk, if you see LinkedIn, everyone's saying, I'm excited to be on this panel. It's not just about the flex. Share what you did.
The merits, yeah.
Yes. So talk about your failures. I feel like people don't talk about it enough.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not about the merits you got on it's not like a military merit. Don't talk too much what you achieved, what you have done. Talk about what you can create results for the people you're working with, or for your clients. That's more important for them than to hear you talking about what you have done and saying, it's nice, it's building your authority that you have achieved it, but they want that you help them to do their job. Be it as a C-suite, the job is then to run the company and to coach the people to do a better job together.
That's true. Yes, I agree.
Oh, the time is flying by very swiftly. Savitha, your last 3 tips in terms of visibility and networking, just not for C-suite, just probably for people who just wants to start their business. They want to leave their 9-to-5 job and creating something. They want to be innovative, have their product idea. What is the quick steps, the visibility networking they should do?
Number one, there are a lot of platforms where you can go and network. So I say, number one, join some of these platforms where there are opportunities to meet other business owners and also maybe clients. So go join those platforms or professional platforms if you need to. 2, invest in learning. There are enough courses, events, webinars that you can go. You will meet other people over there as well. So you're actually not just learning and gaining some skills, but you will also meet people over there. And finally, it begins with you. So find out what opportunities are there out for you. Do your outreach, reach out to people. Don't be afraid of rejection. Even on LinkedIn, if there's someone you like, someone you admire, somebody's work that you admire, reach out to them, send them a note and say, hey, I really like your work. Most of all, the most important tip, you can be on LinkedIn. Just don't be a passive, don't hit it, post and quit it. Be engaging. go engage on other people's posts. People will remember when you engage with them. So you may have connected with me as a LinkedIn connection, but when you read my posts, when you leave a comment for me over and over again, I will remember you. And then when you say, hey, I would like to talk to you about this, or can we connect on this, or you want to take that relationship, invest in that relationship further, they will be willing to reciprocate. So engage a lot. Don't just make a post and just leave, or just read your timeline and leave. So yeah, so those are my quick tips. Engagement is key.
That's fantastic. Very, very. Thank you very much, Savitha. Because finally, probably have to close it up. I really invite everybody really to comment or send Savitha or me just straight away direct messages on email, just on LinkedIn. I think it's Savitha Nanjappa, and on Instagram is just Success with Savitha. I think is the address. Just send a DM to her or to me. And furthermore, if you like this podcast and the content, please like it, follow me on social media as well as Savitha, and subscribe to this podcast on YouTube or join the Entrepreneur and Group on Facebook. Thank you very much for being on my show, Savitha. It was a really pleasure talking to you, and you gave so much gold nuggets away, I think, which is quite valuable for people out there. Thank you for that.
Thank you. You've been so wonderful. I didn't realize we spent so much time. Thank you for having me, and all the best. And it's been a lovely afternoon chatting with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Savitha.
See you. Bye. Yes.
Okay, I stopped the recording. No, the